Webby is back on a Wednesday. Even by rugby league standards, it's been one heck of a news week. Webby, good morning.
Good morning, Matty. Good morning, listeners. Yes, there's been a little bit doing in grand final week. There always is, but there seems to be a bit more around this week. Nothing like a big judiciary hearing to kick things off, so it should settle down now, and we'll be underway on Sunday.
Is it going to settle down? That's going to be the key question because we got over team list Tuesday. We've got the Madge situation at the Broncos, which followed the Kevy situation at the Broncos. We got the flow-on effect into New South Wales. We've had Kalen Ponga, Mal Meninga, all of that going on. But ahead of us is the Dally M Awards tonight. So let's almost do it in chronological order of what's ahead of us. The Dally M Awards this evening. Jerome Hughes seems to be everybody's pick. Do you agree with that? What else could you see? Is there a smoky in the midst?
No, I don't know. It's sort of. It seems like Jerome Hughes has been pegged as the favourite to win the Dally M for some time. Whether that's the case or not, I think we all thought Sean Johnson would win it last year, but Kalen Ponga got him in at the end. Bit of mail around about Isaiah Yeo and possibly James Tedesco, but I think I'd be surprised if it's not Jerome Hughes.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning with you there. I've been a huge Jerome Hughes fan, and the way that he has orchestrated this season to put the Melbourne Storm in the position that they're in, I would not be surprised if that's. But I wouldn't be surprised if Isaiah Yeo gets it as well because he's such an incredible player. Now, the focus was yesterday. Great to see the scenes for the Panthers, but Nathan Cleary knows this. He's been around long enough to know that everybody's staring at his shoulder and the hand as well. That almost, weirdly enough, went unnoticed, really. He had the hand strapped. Injuries play a part in the game at this stage of the season, no doubt about it. But the word out of Penrith is he's 100% ready to go.
I reckon he will be okay. I don't reckon it as bad as people are trying to beat it up, which it's a good grand final week story, Matty. But two things. One, after he did his shoulder against Cronulla on Saturday night, he stayed on the field and kept playing. I thought that was quite telling. And the other one was where, if you looked at him at the fan day yesterday, he's running along the fence with his hand tapping the clapping the hands of all the other kids hanging over the fence with apparently a broken hand. So it can't be that bad. So I can't see Nathan Cleary being affected by that injury in this game, unless, of course, he gets another bad bump to either his hand or his shoulder. But we talk about Nathan Cleary's greatness as a player. We often forget about his toughness. So his ability to get back from injury time and time again and look like he hasn't missed a beat, hasn't missed any football at all, I think is testament to how good he is.
Yeah, greatness and toughness was something that I spoke about in particular for Nathan Cleary's situation on Monday morning, Webby, and I went through a couple of parts of that game the other night there where he orchestrated his moments of brilliance, the pinpoint precision pass and the pinpoint precision kick that led to tries, and then also showed that toughness when he copped a knock. He went back down. I think it was about 11 minutes to go, and he was behind the play the whole way through as Penrith made it up the field and was there bang on the money when they needed him. I wonder how much of a statement it was from Ivan and from Nathan to make sure that he stayed on the field after that tackle that injured his shoulder. I mean, he's a tough player, but I wonder if it was more of a statement of let's just keep him out there because we don't want to give anything away.
I don't know, maybe, but I think it's probably more just because it's a preliminary final. You know, you need your best players out there. And when the game was in the bag, Ivan wisely put him his son in cotton wool and put him on the sideline. Sorry, put him on the sideline, then put him in cotton wool. I mean, I'm sure he's still sleeping in cotton wool now. He is a remarkable kid, Nathan. I do like. I mean that. Like, just, you know, we sort of we gloss over greatness. We get so caught up in the gibber of the day-to-day grind of rugby league that we sort of forget just what they've done, what Nathan's done, what Ivan's done, and what Penrith have done. It's just it's a remarkable story. If they can win 4 premierships, the first to do so since those great Dragons teams of the 50s and 60s, it'll be pretty special, if it isn't already.
Yeah, it sure will. Now, away from the game and the players, of course, we've got the bunker. And it came into it came into focus. It came into focus again against the Sharks. I wondered what the NRL would do against Ivan Cleary for naming an official, and that's probably the key part of it there. However, he was smack bang on the money with that call and that obstruction call that they got wrong, and the NRL admitted that. So I share your concerns that you raised in your column about we hope that it doesn't, but there is a chance. We just got to be awake to this. There is a chance that the bunker could play a massive role in grand final.
Matt, I have been a champion of the referees for many years. I've done big interviews with Matt Chechen, with Ben Cummins the year after the infamous 6-to-go tackle. So I don't like the way that rugby league continually bashes up its match officials. That said, though, that doesn't mean that they can't be immune from criticism. And Chris Butler did a terrible job on Saturday night. I'm sorry, he did. And as I highlighted in that story yesterday, it wasn't just the obstruction call that denied the try to Taruva. It was the penalty for the high tackle against Mitch Kenny in the next set. And then it was, after we're looking at the replay, the Katoa put down, which was very suspect as well. So there's 3 bad bunker decisions in the space of a couple of minutes that the that Penrith had to get over. Lesser teams would not have been able to come back from that. Lesser teams would have let that, in a preliminary final in particular, would have let Cronulla come right back into the contest. But it was only because Penrith are so good that they were able to overcome it. I dare say only them, the Storm, and probably the Roosters would have that ability to overcome not 1 but 3 terrible match-turning decisions from the bunker in the space of a couple of minutes. Like Andrew Abdo and the NRL all think that whenever a coach criticises the match officials, they're trying to try to either put pressure on them next week, like they suspect with Ivan, or take focus off their team. I think Ivan was just being honest, and I think the calm way that he went about it. I know he named Chris Butler. He corrected himself straight away. I just think he was being raw and honest about his anxiety around, as he said, the grand final being decided by a blunder. Andrew Abdo and the NRL should feel the same. They should be even more anxious. Because imagine if Cronulla won that game, and this is no disrespect to the Sharks. Imagine if Cronulla had won that game after that poor decision. Like that's a preliminary final. You're denying Penrith the chance at 4 straight premierships. That would have been far more damaging to the game than whatever Ivan Cleary had to say after the game on Saturday night. And I just think head office need to really, we've spoken about it on this show many, many times, Matty, the game is strangled by its officiating. It's strangled by its use of technology. And I think it's strangled by not having the right people in the bunker who understands that that Talakai had taken a dive and got away with it. Like, I mean, if you've got a million camera angles in HD, then you should be able to make that decision quite easily, because the rest of us did, but Chris Butler couldn't.
The technology there, as we've spoken about, should be there to help. That's the idea of technology. It should never be there to hinder, and especially in big matches like this. So what happens in the refereeing stakes? Ashley Klein, of course, in control on Sunday night. Does the ref put the whistle away on Sunday, Webby?
Well, that's what Adam G did last year in last year's grand final. I thought it was fantastic. That's what I think. We don't want to be talking about referees, to be honest. I know it's a bone of contention with plenty of people about whether big games like Origins, like grand finals, should be adjudicated differently. But we just stay out of it, and don't. And to be honest, I don't want to be bashing up Ashley, but I'm worried that Ashley does have an ability, and we saw it during Origin, to get his hands all over the game, and I just hope that's not the case. He's probably been. I think I'm a big fan of Grant Atkins. I know he made that blue in the other preliminary final between the Roosters and the Storm, not picking up the Storm touch when it got batted back at a really critical time. I know he missed that, but I think Grant in the main is a really, really good referee. But just as long as we're not talking about Ashley Klein or the bunker. I think Atkins is the bunker official, by the way. I think that's a good move. Having a referee, like one of your main referees in the bunker is a benefit for sure. But let's just hope we're not talking about him on Monday morning.
Well, if we're not talking about the refs on Monday morning, about the ref or the bunker, then it's job done. If we're not pulling it apart that it's a defining moment of the game, I'm happy to have the discussion about how the ref played, made this call, made that call, all that kind of stuff. That's part of the game, right? If when the ref's out there, that's going to be part of the game. But it's the part that says, if we're talking about Monday, that people are saying this has had an influence on the outcome of the game because of a decision made that nobody agrees with or nobody can see, then that's where the problem lies. But it is what it is, and they're going to sit down in the off season and try and have a discussion around the bunker at NRL headquarters. So that's grand final at the moment. The other big story, of course, is Madge at the Broncos, following on from Kevy Walters getting the flick, but also the flow-on effect of the New South Wales Rugby League. Now, I posed this question yesterday. There are two losers in this situation. If you look at it, Walters without a job and the New South Wales Rugby League without a coach. 72 hours after Michael Maguire did his presentation for 2025. I don't know how to fix this because the New South Wales Rugby League hire a coach knowing full well that if he gets a full-time job, he's going to go.
Yeah, look, I spoke to Paul Conlon, the chairman of the New South Wales Rugby League, on Sunday morning before I went on the footy show on 9, and they seemed perturbed by it. It's probably the word. There's a word you don't use that often. Perturbed.
Yeah, that's a good word. Good word.
Perturbed. I don't think they were angry. And Paul Conlon gave me the indication that he felt all along that this could be the case. They knew when they hired Michael Maguire that he's a career coach and that he was going to be. And if a job came up, then he'd be keen on it. You'll remember that the Parramatta job came up earlier this year, right on the eve of Origin, or maybe it was after the first Origin. I can't recall, but he knocked that one on the head straight away. But as I said, Michael Maguire is a career coach, so I don't think the New South Wales Rugby League can be crying too hard about it. I know there's a lot of ex-players that have been bashing poor old Madge up, but he's as I said, he's a career coach. I think anyone that fulfills that role, who has designs on coaching again in the NRL, it's almost like an unwritten agreement that if the right job comes up, then you let him go. So I know it's probably not it's not cool that he presented only a few days before he got the Brisbane job, and talked about next year, but. It's clear that Madge had been talking to Brisbane for some time. There's some talk that he'd been talking to them for as long as a month, which wouldn't surprise. Yeah. I think Kevin Walters' cards were marked before that review. That obviously saw his fate sealed. But it's to me the bigger issue isn't so much about how it was done and who's going to. What's happened to Kevy and all that type of stuff. It's whether Michael Maguire is the right man for the job, and I honestly think he is. I think it's going to be a huge cultural change for the Broncos as a club. I mean, they just went and hired the New South Wales, not just a former New South Wales coach, the current New South Wales coach, to coach their
that won the series.
That won the series against them, and also was it got quite narky there as Origin series do towards the end there between. New South Wales and Michael Maguire and the Sunshine State of Queensland. So I tell you what, those old boys who have a lot of control at Brisbane, they have a lot to say. Club management were accused of bowing to them and giving Kevin Walters a job 4 years ago. Well, this is a complete 180, and they've completely brushed them. Not only got rid of a favourite son, but replaced him with Michael Maguire. It's a pretty ballsy move. It better work.
Yeah. So we played the press conference yesterday here live as it happened, and I've got to say, the journos quite rightly tried to go all NCIS forensics on the timeline of how this played out to try and find the hole in it. Okay, was Kevy sacked here, and then when were you approached, and how does that line up with this? in Michael Maguire's corner on this one in terms of how you go about it. I mean, if he presents to New South Wales and then 72 hours later signs with the Broncos, of course he's been having chats. But you and I both know in this rugby league world that anything can happen in 72 hours. So he's got to cover both of his bases. And if the NSWRL allows a coach who's going to be a career coach when a job comes up to be in that position, then they've got to have to cop the flip side of it. So I think Michael Maguire has landed a very good job. I agree with you. I think he's the right man for the Broncos job. And the way he went about it fell in his lap. That's the way it is. And as he said yesterday, opportunities like this don't come up. You've got to make sure that you've got them, and you don't have them until the dotted line is signed. So well done to Michael Maguire. However, it leaves the other question of who's the next New South Wales coach. We'll pick apart that right after this. 1-300. So just quickly then, the decision won't be made for a while because there's a while between now and next State of Origin series. But who does New South Wales look at now that Madge is gone?
It was interesting to see Penrith players endorse Ivan Cleary as a potential candidate. I'm sure Ivan would do a good job. I don't know. I don't know. I like the idea. I just think Madge did such a remarkably good job in restoring pride in the New South Wales jumper, not just in his players, but also for the state. I think there was a real disconnect there, Matty, with those two series losses under Brad Fiedler, and Michael Maguire surprisingly managed to rebuild that culture within the space of 3 matches. It really was one of the great New South Wales performances. The last game. I'm a big fan of Ricky. I do. I think there's only a select amount of people who understand Origin for New South Wales. Gus has won. Whether he'd want to do it or not, I don't know. Gus is a pretty divisive character. Ricky Stewart has... I think Ricky's got some unfinished business. And I think from a journo's point of view, it'd be nice and fiery. We need a bit more fire. No one was saying anything last year, were they? Madge was saying some cryptic stuff. But I don't know.
There's a bit of glass houses, wasn't there?
There was definitely... Oh, that's it, the glass houses. How could I forget? How could I forget? Does anyone know exactly what Michael Maguire was talking about? Do we still have any idea? No?
No,
Sorry?
but geez, it generated some good headlines, didn't it? Glasshouse Mountains, I think he was talking about. So it's finally that's it. We don't know. That's the answer.
No, well, not yet. Not yet. I don't think they've got any idea at all. And fair enough.
Yeah,
because last time I looked, it's early October, so we've still got some time.
All right. Okay. Now, we've got about 2 minutes before the news. So just back on grand final, it's ended up 1 versus 2. It's ended up the 2 best teams in the competition for this Sunday. Here's a question without notice for you, Webby. We know the history of the Storm. We know the history of the Panthers, both recent and past, and we know the calibre of their players and their coaches. What's made them, do you think, the 2 best teams this year and over the last couple of years? But they were absolutely apart from the rest, like on reflection. What do you think has been the difference of those 2 versus the rest of the clubs this season?
Two best game managers in the game, Cleary and Hughes. 2 great forward packs, and also just 2 teams that are... This is my opinion. I just think they're two rock solid clubs and teams. You know what I mean? Like they're just they're so dependable. They rarely get the wobbles, and when they do, that it's not for very long. I think both coaches and both systems are very, very good at seeing players go, particularly like Penrith have in the last couple of years, and then bringing on quality players and making them better. That's been the criticism of Kevin Walters of the Broncos, that none of those younger players improved under him. But certainly, at Penrith and the Storm, that's the case. Like, we talk about it on Morning Glory a lot with Matty Johns, like Tyron Wishart. He's just become such a quality player in the last few years under Craig Bellamy. You go over I look at Penrith, and you look at someone like Alamotti, who's playing centre for Penrith. Like they lose quality players. They lose a Stephen Crichton, and they just have an ability to players come back to Penrith for less money, because the culture there is so good, and they just have. I don't know whether it's a work ethic, whether it's the standards that they set in the club. I'm talking about both Penrith. I'm talking about both Penrith and Melbourne, but they just keep producing, and that's that they don't have to go and throw the bank at big superstar players because they've already produced their own and brought them on. So I just think that's a mark of those two clubs, and that's why they're in the grand final.
Nursery. That's why they're in the grand final, and they have been ahead of the rest. Let's go to the 9:30 news. Webby's here on this Wednesday morning on SEN 11:70 a.m. in Sydney. Friday, the Sydney Morning Herald is with me. 867 on the text. Your average punter calls, messages, names and shames a ref, and Whitey cuts them off and shuts them down. Haven't had any calls on the line yet this morning as far as I remember, so I don't know how I've shut people down, but thanks for the text. Appreciate it. Now, Webby, 16 days until the Pacific Championships begin.
Yeah.
And boy, was there some drama around the whole Kalen Ponga situation. So it's flipped, it's flopped. What happens next? Does Mal pick Kalen Ponga?
I don't think he should. I don't know whether he will or not. It's the team's named on Monday. It's I get the feeling that Mal's torn about the whole thing. I didn't think it was, as I said last week and also again on Morning Glory last Friday, I don't think it's the international incident that people have made it out to be, but I think it's been handled very poorly. As I revealed last week in the Herald, that people at Newcastle told Kalen Ponga to call Mal Meninga before putting out that statement. That advice was ignored or not passed on to him, and it's created the drama that it has. I don't know. It's going to be. It's weird. It's a weird one. I think now that he's made himself available, I don't think it helped his cause. Or who at the Knights, in their godforsaken mind, decided to punch out a statement saying that Kalen Ponga was now available for selection a few minutes into that Friday night preliminary final. Like, that's just taking the piss, really. That's just really, really poor form. I thought it just worsened a already messy situation. But all that, by the by, who cares about statements and all that type of stuff? Does Mal Meninga pick him? I think Mal needs to make a real statement about the Australian jumper and about his team, particularly off the back of a 30-0 loss to New Zealand last year. And if that's the case, then I don't think picking Kalen Ponga, who is ambivalent about playing in the green and gold, it sends the right message. If Dylan Edwards doesn't end up isn't available because of his injury issues after the grand final on Sunday, then pick James Tedesco. He's going gangbusters. He's a legend of the game, a legendary fullback, the incumbent captain. I mean, there's a replacement there. I don't think Australia needs Kalen Ponga.
Yeah, all right. So we'll wait and see after the grand final as to how that one plays out. With Dally M tonight, and you picked Jerome Hughes there to be leading contender for Player of the Year. What about Coach
that's
of the
breaking
Year?
News.
This is a really
I've really gone down a limb there with Jerome Hughes, haven't I? He's $1.20.
Coach of the Year is interesting. No kidding, Sherlock. Coach of the Year, you've got Craig Bellamy, leads Melbourne to another grand final. You've got Ivan Cleary. You've got Cameron Ciraldo at the Bulldogs. So they're the three contenders for Coach of the Year. Which way do you go here? They've all got cases here.
I'd like to see Ciro get it. He deserves it. Like what he's done with the Bulldogs is quite remarkable. So, Craig Bellamy and Ivan Cleary have had plenty of accolades. It's funny. It's really weird. Like Wayne Bennett he's won more premierships than anyone in the modern era, and he's only won 3, I think, maybe even just 2. Coach of the Year, Dally M's. But I think that it's I'd be happy with any of them, all 3 of them getting it, to be honest. But what Ciraldo's done with Canterbury, I know it sort of fell apart there, only sort of towards the end there, but it's where Canterbury have been and all the dark days that Cameron Ciraldo has had at Belmore to do what he did this year is pretty remarkable. So I'd be more than happy with him getting Coach of the Year.
It was the Warriors' Andrew Webster who was Coach of the Year last year, and before that it was Todd Payton. So the last 2 years have gone to Warriors and the Cowboys. Before that, it was Craig Bellamy and Ivan Cleary the year before, which takes us back to sort of 2020 and Bellamy again back in 2019. So, yeah, really, I find that one pretty fascinating, that little three-man lineup there for Dally M Coach of the Year this evening. 0457 736 736 is the text line. If Mal doesn't pick Kalen, what was the whole furor over? Well, you wouldn't pick Kalen off the back of, as Webby just said there, the ambivalence towards the position. Another texter says Teddy, the incumbent that got rolled 30-0. Okay, look,
Okay, well, all right. Well, if that's the case,
Tedesco's been in great form.
Well, he's been in great form, exactly. But I'm talking about James Tedesco. If Edwards isn't available, that's why I'm saying pick him. And again, in terms of Ponga, the shit fight only happened because Ponga was the one who said he wasn't available when under his playing contract it's very clear that he should be. I find it quite remarkable that nobody at the Knights or Kalen Ponga's father knew the rules. I know the rules. I'm not a player. If you're fit, you've got to play rep footy. That's just always been the case. So it's quite remarkable that people don't understand that. We've been talking about it for decades.
Correct. 1300 01 1170. Matty, Webby, hope you're well. This from Josh the Bricky. Just a few musings from Josh. He says, bit of a chat over the phone to mates and brothers regarding who I'm following in the GF. Myself and my young fella Blocker will be going to the game with a small group of mates. My response to them has been, I dislike Penrith. I admire and respect what they've done in their legacy, and the same for the Storm. However, I'm not barracking for either side. Not a chance. Just there to watch the footy and watch two remarkable sides go about their business, says Josh the Bricky. So at the end of all that, Webby, he's going to go to the game and not support anyone.
That's good. Josh, can
Just
I give
enjoy
you?
the
Josh,
footy.
can I? As someone who comes from generations of bricklayers, let me just suggest what every other bricklayer in my family would be doing when they don't have a team in the grand final. Bet on it. And that'll get
responsibly, please.
But responsibly, of course. But that always keeps you interested. I'll come up with a 9-leg multi for you. That'll keep you engaged. But I think that's the beauty. To be honest, I'm a bit the same. I've got no skin in it either way. I'd be happy with either team winning because either team deserves to win it. I do like, and it's no disrespect to Melbourne at all. I do like. I love watching history being made, and this, and I know we've watched it in the last 3 years with Penrith. But if they could win 4 and Nathan wins another Clive Churchill medal, you'll be telling your grandkids down the track, or you might be, Matty. I don't know if I will, but how I watched Nathan Cleary. I watched Penrith when they won 4 in a row, and were the greatest team of the modern era.
Yeah. What was that movie? There Goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was. That could be it.
What's that movie?
It's a baseball movie, and I'm going to get.
The Natural. The Natural. Of course.
The Natural. Yeah. There goes Roy Hobbs, the best there ever was.
That's what they say when you walk down the street, Matty. They go, "There's Matty White. There's the best that ever was."
Yeah, it was.
On Today Tonight. When were you on Today Tonight?
You know what they say when they see you, Webby? They go, "There goes Webby." Geez, that was expensive.
Hey, geez. Okay, there goes Webby. He's better looking in real life. Okay.
Today Tonight was 2008 until 12.
8 till 12.
2000, the glory years, 2008 until 2012.
When did it finish? You didn't see it off, did you?
No, I didn't. No. I
you didn't
moved
kill
on.
Today Tonight, did you?
No. A couple of years later, it killed itself.
Have you killed any? Have you killed any shows?
Probably. No, I don't think so.
No, of course not. I've killed
I don't know. There's always time, Webby. There's always time. Right, we need to take a break. We're back after this.